And welcome to another episode of The Everyday Leader. I'm your host, Dr. Ananya. I'm here today with another amazing guest, a young powerhouse who is changing health and teaching and childcare services onto a different level. So welcome, Eden, welcome to The Everyday Leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the amazing introduction, Dr. Ananya. My name is Eden Andom. Like you said, I'm a January 2021 graduate from the University of Gondar, and I hold a bachelor's in physiotherapy. So that's a small introduction.
That's fantastic. I always love having young, driven women, doing innovative things, new things, and in any arena, really, even if, especially when you're in healthcare, but you do something that's like adjacent to healthcare and not just purely within that line. So I'm just so excited. So about this. Who is Eden? Like you said, you give us a one-liner, but we really want to get to know who Eden is. Like, where did she grow up? How did she become a physiotherapist? What was her career path? And what sparked your passion? And, the advocacy work that you do now towards children with disabilities. We want to hear all of it.
Great. Okay, so I'm in Addis Ababa, which is the capital of Ethiopia, and I'm the oldest, big family. I have 5 siblings, and naturally, as the eldest daughter, had this interest in hanging out with kids. So I always kind of knew I would gravitate towards a profession that works with kids, but wasn't aware that physiotherapy to the University of Gondar. So after finishing high school, when I went to the University of Gondar, I aimed to study pharmacy. I had my mind set up that I was going to study pharmacy. So after I went there, I discovered that physiotherapy exists here in Ethiopia, and I've only heard about it in movies. I don't know if you've watched the movie Just Right. That's where I know it from. So I was very excited about the possibility of learning physiotherapy, mainly because it doesn't really focus on fixing the patient. It's more of an empowerment for the patient to help himself. So that really caught my interest and attention. So I chose physiotherapy, and naturally within physiotherapy, I chose pediatric physiotherapy.
So it's like that perfect junction of your love for children and also your love for the professional physiotherapy just comes together.
Right, yeah, it's a natural instinct turned into a profession, if you will.
I love it. So, you work in early intervention and rehabilitation programs. And for those who, are not familiar with it, what does early intervention really mean in the context of, pediatric physiotherapy? And why do you think it's so critical and that we need to concern and educate ourselves about it?
Self-explanatory, like early intervention basically means intervening early on in a child's life to provide different therapies and support. So as we all know, the first 2 years of a child's life are where most of their development happens. So the child develops emotionally, the child develops socially, there's the communication aspect of it, there's the physical aspect of it. And so the child holistically develops a lot within the first 2 years. So we have a lot of neuroplasticity happening within that time frame. So intervening early on in life helps the child combat lifelong disability issues. So in terms of physical therapy, if we intervene, we first prevent any type of complications, deformities, contractures that might happen later in life, and B, we teach them different motor patterns that would help them progress a lot later in life. So some countries do early intervention up to the age of 3. Western countries mostly do it up to the age of 3, and they also do it within the home setting of the child. But in the context of Ethiopia, I think even the age of 5 is way too early, because a lot of kids don't get diagnosed, and a lot of parents don't know where to go for rehabilitation. And as you know, let alone home therapies, even are very hard to find here.
Yeah, those are great points. I love that. I think, like you said, it's really timing is everything in medicine, in healthcare, right? It all goes back. Goes back to timing. So the earlier, always the better. Whether you're treating trauma, whether you're treating, like you said, congenital issues, whatever it is, the earlier the better. Just because high plasticity of the brain and the body will fasten the recovery and actually works for you during your intervention. So I love that. And I think, I don't know, just to piggyback on that, because we don't have screening programs in our country. Any other place you have newborn screening programs that detect early on certain issues of a newborn. So do you think that would have any role in the early intervention that you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a huge lack of awareness about even the role of rehabilitation for kids with developmental delays. And that lack of awareness not only within the parents, it's also within the healthcare community. So not even the doctors or the pediatric nurses know kids, and that physiotherapy might actually impact the child's life. So like you said, the screening not happening, negative thing in the first place, and then after the child is, I don't know, maybe a year old, and the parents notice that he's not progressing as the other typical kids are, and they take them to the healthcare professionals. They just tell them something's wrong and don't know where to refer them to. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I think it's always good to think of things systematically. Nothing in healthcare is separate on its own. It doesn't exist separately. It's an interdependent system, and I think that systemic thinking is what's going to make a great change. So you've taken leadership roles in the Ethiopian pediatric physiotherapy group. What was the turning point that led you into this space of leadership and of advocacy, and what accomplishments are you most proud of during your journey?
Okay, that's a great question. So, like I told you, pediatric physiotherapy has always been a passion and an interest for me. But what I've noticed after I've strictly worked with kids after graduating, and what I've noticed within my working experience is that it's very overlooked. Sure, like the term inclusive is very popular. Sure, rehabilitation is popular, but on the ground, in actual working experience, you realize that it's very overlooked. And so the Ethiopian Pediatric Physiotherapy Group is a sub-member of the International Organization of Physical Therapists within pediatrics. And we started off with 10 members and have doubled our number. So there's 20 of us now. So I understand that that's not a huge number, considering the whole population is 120 million. That sounds very scary, but it's a huge step. So everything starts small and scales up. So I have this favorite quote from James Baldwin. I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't exactly remember the words, but he said, "Not everything that's faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced." So it's true, although there's only 20 of us, there will soon be maybe 50 of us, 100 of us. And we will serve these kids who have been overlooked. And we will, when you treat a child, you don't only treat the child, you treat the whole family. You heal the whole family together. So I'm very proud of growing the number from 10 to 20. And another thing that we're working on is, as you may be aware, we don't really have specializations within physiotherapy here in Ethiopia. So we're working with an international medical university in Nairobi who provides an advanced diploma in pediatrics and other different aspects of physiotherapy. And we're working together trying to figure out a way where we can provide pediatric physiotherapy here in Ethiopia. So that's another thing I'm proud of.
Yeah, wow. Don't like, this is my thing, right? In Africa as a whole, it cannot be a numbers game. We're not there yet. We are far from there, right? So from 10 to 20, the impact is also exponentially increased, right? We're looking at the numbers, but if one individual gets to see, let's say, because we know how clinic works, our outpatient clinics work, right? You see like 60 patients, 40 patients individually. It is massive. The demand is massive. So just multiply that. So it means in a day, now you can help, if we say 40 patients a day times 20, now you have access, now 800 people have access to the services. So it's exponentially growing increment when it comes to the effect it has, the impact it has towards the service. Although the number on its own, when you look at it, might not seem that big. So I think we need to look at it in that sense and in that lens. And also, like you mentioned, it's very important because most even healthcare providers don't have that integration, because like we said, we don't have systematic thinking, and we need to work towards that. It's one program here, another program there, doing whatever they can on their own, and it's like, how do we come together, right? So that's also very important, and I love the work you guys have done so far. It's very, very inspiring. So, leadership rarely happens in isolation. Were there any mentors or peers or even patients who might have helped shape your path? And what wisdom and encouragement and experience have stayed with you so far in your career path?
Excellent question. So, when you're entering a field that's almost non-existent as pediatric physical therapy here in Ethiopia, you definitely need a lot of mentors. So I've been very blessed with a lot of colleagues and mentors, some university lecturers, some are colleagues from both here and abroad. They really helped me to understand it better. They've helped me improve my skills in terms of providing therapy, and I'm always going to be very grateful for that. And I love the way you phrased your question, because my patients really hold the highest value and who impacted me the most. So like I told you, when you treat a child, you're not only treating the child. So I'm a huge believer in holistic treatment. So I think as physical therapists, and maybe you can agree as an orthopedic surgeon, sometimes we tend to get fixated on what's wrong or what needs to be fixed, like a particular body part or something like that. But we don't really realize the person's way beyond that. They have their own spirit, their own thinking, and way much more. And like I mentioned, for kids, it's even broader. So I've been a huge believer in holistic treatment. And what I've learned is the family is the constant in the child's life. They're also an expert in their own terms. So we as the therapists are experts. The child is an expert in what his interests are, what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. And the caregivers or parents are obviously an expert in what the child needs. So this collaboration has led me to deeply believe in family-centered approach, and I believe that has exponentially changed the way I treat my kids, patients, and yeah.
I love that. It is so underrated. The value of how our patients influence our leadership, our interaction, our aspirations is so underrated, but they are part and parcel of our journey. And I love how you even smiled, your demeanor even changed when you talked about it, because you're remembering certain experiences that were, that are still in your heart, and every day they keep you going, right? Because how the way resources constrained in the environment we work in, it is very easy to give up. It's just very easy to say, you know what, this is too much, like I can't handle this. But it is really those people that you work for, and you see how you've changed their life. I'm sorry, how you changed their life with the intervention that you have done. So I love how you give that a recognition, and I think we should all do that. It's very important to recognize the role of our patients. And like you said, in all culture, which is obviously also reflected in our healthcare system, their opinion is never valued. It's like it's the doctor and the parents decide, and then the child's opinion and needs and wants voice is just completely ignored. And I love how you said, even if it's a child, we still need to make sure that they are also actively involved in their treatment. And I think that is going to be, that is going to change, a game changer in patient approach. So I love how you mentioned that. And I don't know, hearing you say that, I'm just inspired. I'm thinking of 100 different things how we can design an intervention like that. So I love it. And I can see why you're a great leader, because even just talking to you is very inspiring. So that was just your career path so far. So now I want to come to the thing that caught my attention, which is Burhan Special Needs Daycare. I want to say one of its kind in Ethiopia, probably in Addis. I would be bold to say that. Correct me if I'm wrong, just because I've never heard of it before. But it's common to see it in the Western countries. It's one of the very well-funded aspects of childcare, and there's a lot of government funds for it. So I love that you've taken this initiative where you're passionate to help children, and then your knowledge and skill, but at the same time creating an environment that is home-like to provide your intervention. So can you walk us through its origin story, from the first spark of where the inspiration comes to, and then the moment it became real, the challenges, the headaches, and everything. I want to hear everything.
Great. Okay, so Burhan is a very personal project for me for a lot of reasons. So Burhan in Amharic means light, right? So what happens when a family has a child with disability here in Ethiopia is, due to the lack of awareness of the society, there's a lot of stigmatization towards the family. Some consider it as a curse. Some think the child will never be capable of doing anything, and it has a lot of weight on the family. It has a financial weight because a lot of these kids have other issues like maybe epilepsy, where they have to take expensive drugs and they usually even can't find them on the market. And it has a psychological effect on the family. Like the families are not social gatherings they used to be called for. Some are even told that they don't want to be neighbors with them. Like I've had a patient whose mother was told, "Can you please not wash your to mine?" just because she had a kid with spinal bifida. So this is the type of context we're talking about. So as a physical therapist, I've never had any type of interaction with daycares or any type of settlement like that. But hearing that a lot of early childhood centers like daycares or schools don't accept these children really broke my heart. Because we've all heard the term quality of life. Like we've heard it in school. Like you have to improve the quality of life of that patient, that family. But we've never truly understood it. And it's always different for everybody. It's different for me, it's different for you, and it's different for that kid with disability. And impacting something, although it might be small, will truly improve that person's quality of life. So we've mentioned that the family faces financial constraints only because of having that child with developmental delays. Like you said, we don't have the system to support the family. The family has to figure it out on their own. So adds more extra pressure on family. And like you're aware, due to our social construct, to end up taking care of the child. A lot of mothers, as if they caused that problem or something like that. So I hope, although it's a small start, I hope it helps these families who feel unheard, unseen, to have a place where they belong. And in therapeutical aspect, we both know how you spend your day really matters on your progress and outcomes. So if you're lucky here in Ethiopia, you might get therapy once a week, maybe twice if you're really lucky. And we both know that's not to actually make progress. The child is awake, say, around 85 hours within a week, and providing those 2 hours in a week is not going to significantly improve the child's life. So providing a center where these kids are the center of attention, I hope helps promote that.
Yeah, I'm just taken away with what you just said. The fact that don't wash your clothes, like don't place them next to my child so that they wouldn't catch the same thing. It just goes to show you there is just so much work to do when it comes to creating awareness and destigmatizing, congenital issues. And you also mentioned another very important point. Most of these women are single mothers because the husband leaves them thinking they're the cause of the child's problem. And we've seen that again and again and again. And it's just so heartbreaking, especially like problems like spina bifida, which could simply be prevented by taking supplements when you're in your reproductive age group. And it's just education. It's just really education. And I feel like the policymakers are not the ones that see the patients. So the way our health policy is designed kind of has nothing to do with the actual issues on the ground. Although I want to give the credit, they just recently approved enforcing enriching flour with folic acid, which has been the standard almost in the Western countries. Has been standard. That was how they managed to preventable disabilities. So it's a step forward, but it took long enough to get there, and we're still now working on awareness. So we got to really work on awareness. I think as physicians, we have to advocate for our patients. We cannot just be clinicians and see patients when they come to the hospital. We need, and if that is the only thing we do, we might as well make it a teaching session. We might as well use that to help them get new information so that they can go home and teach for their community. So that's very important. And I think it's very noble and just phenomenal what you're doing. I love it. I wish I was there to come and see your setup because I would have loved to. So what impact do you hope Brahan will have? You already kind of mentioned on that, but I want you to go deeper into it. And what gaps in care or inclusion are you trying to bridge? How do you envision the future for children who really rely on these services? How do we increase the number of services, the quantity, and also how do we improve the quality of such services?
That's a great question. So I've kind of started it in my previous answer. So I really hope it positively impacts these children's progress, and whether it's physical or social, like having a friend to play with is a significantly important thing that we don't notice because we've never had any barriers towards it. I mean, sure, some people might not like you, some might like you, but you've always had a fair ground to start. But not being able to walk outside and play, that provides a very strong barrier for you. So a lot of these kids who are physically limited usually spend their day laying on a bed. And what do you look at when you're laying on a bed? The ceiling. That's all they're looking at. In an Ethiopian setting, toys are not common. Like, we were not raised with toys. We've solely kind of depended on social interaction to have fun. So for these kids, it's a center where they can play, irrespective of whatever type of physical barrier they might face. I hope they socialize with their peers. That's one of it. The second thing is I hope it kind of creates this positive fire within the community. So we're aiming to host different type of social gatherings where the neighbors who don't bring their children here to just come here and socialize with the parents, socialize with the kids. And like you said, awareness is what's gonna solve this problem. Awareness for the parents, awareness for the community, awareness for the policymakers, and like you said, we have to give the Ministry of Health credit because they're integrating rehabilitation more within the last few years than they've ever had, and that's a huge step forward. So I hope kids with neurodevelopmental disabilities get seen, get heard, and get the necessary attention that they deserve.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. What do you think is the biggest barrier, though? Or if it was up to you, what would be maybe the first 3 priority areas that you would work on if you had the power to change on that greater scheme of things?
That's a very interesting question. So the first thing I would definitely change, like you said earlier, is screening when a child is born. So have that consistent screening makes a huge difference, whether the child is going to get the necessary therapy he needs or whether he's not gonna get the therapy until he's way old enough and has developed all the deformities and contractures we don't want him to have. So I would definitely change that. The second thing I would change is to integrate the families more. So culturally, there's a huge hierarchy here in Ethiopia. Like, it's the therapist, and then the parents, and then the kid. So because it needs to be a partnership. Like, I can't be working solo and the parent doesn't understand what I'm doing. It also affects the follow through. So physiotherapy mainly depends on repetition. It solely depends on repetition to make progress. So if the parent does not fully understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, they're not gonna do it at home. And if they're not gonna do it at home, I'm not gonna see the progress I'm aiming for or hoping for. And they're not gonna get creative if they don't truly understand why we're doing those things. And they would also not be susceptible to misinformation. So because physiotherapy is kind of starting, it's been 20 years since the whole thing started, and pediatric physiotherapy is even less. So the parents are usually scammed by these traditional healers or other scammers like that, who mention like, I will heal your child. So a mother who has a child who doesn't have head control, oh, your child is gonna stand and walk within the next month. And of course they're gonna do everything in their power to make that happen. So some sell their houses, some from the countryside sell their cows and other animals to pay for that therapy. And of course it doesn't really go as planned. But if the mother was aware, oh, my child needs to first hold his head, and then he needs to roll, and then he needs to sit, he needs to stand. If she knows, for example, like if a scammer was to tell a mother, I will heal the Down syndrome, it's a chromosome issue, she will not be susceptible to this kind of misinformation. So I would empower these caregivers a lot. That's something I would change. The third thing I will change is, I think it's kind of starting, but it's not happening as fast as we hoped, is the multidisciplinary team. That's something that will make a huge impact. Like you said, we have one profession here, another profession here, another profession here, and they're not really interlinking their expertise to help that child. But we're all working for the same goal, which is to improve that kid's quality of life. So if we work together, we will have the most progress, and that's something I will change. That was a lengthy answer, but
No, that's perfect, because there is no short answer for this. I love that. So in today's world, attention is fragmented and fleeting. Social media, there's that. Everything is competing for our attention. What advice would you give to young professionals who wants to stay grounded in a purpose-driven work like you're doing to have a lasting impact?
Okay. So I would give two pieces of advice. The first thing is know your why. Like you said, in this fast-paced social media age, everything just seems important. Everything takes our attention away. But know your why. Know why you're doing what you're doing. And although recognition might be slow, or you might face a lot of barriers, your why will push you out of whatever limitations you're facing. So that's my first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is, although social challenges, it also has its own benefits. Everything is kind of like a tap away. It's one tap away. And I've made a lot of incredible mentors through cold emailing people. So don't be afraid to reach out for help from professionals you think would help you. And like somebody said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So cold email people, and don't be afraid to research a lot of stuff. We have AI, we have Google, they're all here at our service. So look into different aspects you think will help you flourish within your career.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great advice. Like you said, we cannot stop the advancement of technology. It is advancing further from us catching up to it, and that's not a reality that's going to change. That's a reality that is it's an assured reality. So we just have to use it to our advantage and send out a message to the community, create awareness, using it as an awareness creating tool, and things like that. So I love that. I was just before the interview, I was reading this post on LinkedIn where a certain physician was talking about talking against healthcare professionals promoting themselves on social media and things like that. And where is the ethical that line of when it is unethical to do that and how to do it the ethical way. But I was just thinking it was put in a very negative through a very negative lens, and we cannot, as healthcare providers, we cannot tear each other down for doing that, because social media, even for the Western society that have grown using social media, it's still very uncharted territory. So we have to give each other a grace. And yes, some people are gonna misuse it, but overall, if we use it right, then it would have the greater impact. And I think we need to look at it from that positive aspect. Okay, so I love that. I love that conversation. It's really, really good. But as you know, you're on the Everyday Leader, so we're really about leadership, trying to bring people to their leadership persona. And just like you're talking about holistic approach to patients, I have a holistic approach to leadership, because leadership is the integration of different parts of a person, and all those skills and personalities come together to mold a great leader out of people. And I know we have this argument, and I want to hear your take on this. We have this argument if leaders are born or leaders are made. What's your take on that?
I definitely think leaders are made. I'm more of a nurture versus nature girly.
I agree. And almost everybody who has done something and has become a leader will tell you it's not innate. It's nurtured. It's made. It's a work in progress. And also, being a leader is not a goal. It's a process. Because even as a leader, the way you lead changes with different levels of experience, right? So it's not a goal to attend. It's just a process to go through. So I don't know if somebody's thinking, oh, I'm just going to have a leader badge and then that's it. Sorry, that's not it. Wouldn't you agree?
So being a leader means you have to wear multiple hats. So sometimes it means wearing the hat where you have to lead the people where they're confused or unsure about things. And sometimes it means stepping aside for somebody to take your place and lead. And knowing how fluid and flexible it is, I think in its own way teaches you that it's learned rather than innately given to you. So that was an excellent point.
Thank you so much for coming on the Everyday Leader. It's been so much fun hanging out with you, talking to you, picking into your brain. Loved every moment of it. And I hope to see more of the work you do. And I hope to see you achieve more than this and really progress on this journey of healing that you're giving back to our community.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ananya. You've been a huge inspiration. So back in the University of Gondar, I've always heard your reputation, and you've been one of the strongest women back in Gondar who were doing a lot of progressive things. So I'm super honored and happy to be your guest today.